Coming up next on the St. Paul Forum, we'll be visiting the Union Depot in downtown St. Paul and take a look at the developments as we get ready for light rail. That's coming up next on the St. Paul Forum. Welcome to the St. Paul Forum. I'm Catherine Day, and joining me today is Josh Collins of the Regional Rail Authority. I hope I'm saying that right. And we're here at the Union Depot. We're going to take a look around and see what's happening right now and what's going to come up. So, Josh, welcome. We're so glad you could be here today.
Thank you for having me.
Or that you would invite us here. Tell us, we've walked into this wonderful hallway. Tell us what the vision is, what's going to be happening, the big picture of what's happening here.
Sure. So we're standing in the Great Hall of the Head House, which is the ceremonial entrance to Union Depot. And this is going to continue to have restaurant, food service, and events. The light rail platform is right out in front of the building on 4th Street. So this is going to be a pass-through space that we want to feel somewhat like St. Paul's living room again. So we want people to come and feel as though this is a public space they can enjoy arts and cultural events as well as restaurant and retail services.
And when we talk about this, when they're going to show up in this living room, what's the date? Like, when do they start coming in to sit down here and get cozy?
Sure. So construction will be done by the end of this year. But before light rail starts, that'll be 2014. We're going to have services that'll begin kind of in phases between now and 14. So probably this December is when Metro Transit bus service will start operating out of here. Jefferson Lines in January, they'll provide intercity regional bus service. And then we'll be looking for Amtrak to come sometime next year.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
So shall we walk ahead then?
Let's do that. So this is a very interesting space. There are actually 39 private condominiums in this building that all wrap around the top. So those folks, they don't even need to put on shoes to go to Chicago anymore.
And those are already occupied?
Yes, I think all but 2 are occupied. And they've been great neighbors during construction. They've put up with a lot of restoration. All of the stone in here has been restored, and it's looking like brand new 1924 in here.
As you say, so originally it was 1924 is when it was built, and at that time it was the hub, and it was the primary connection to Chicago.
Exactly. This was where you'd have 20,000 people every day would pass through this building. 300 trains would serve the site every day. Yeah. So this was the hub. Anyone who went off to either of the wars, people who were immigrating to the area, they would have come through this site.
Yeah, really historic. And of course we have our history as bootlegger town. I actually bought a house that was owned by the biggest bootlegger. This is where he did business. So it has a lot of layers of history to it.
Like an onion.
And here's a nice picture of a train.
Yes, so this wall was put in place in the 70s, and it's been a construction barricade for us. This will come down and we'll have an open view looking all the way back into the concourse and waiting room.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah. So, so we're going to walk in and see what's behind the door.
We are, exactly.
All right. And who is paying for all of this? I know you said we're working with Mortensen Construction is doing the work, but where does the money come from to make this big change?
So this is a $243 million project. About half of that is coming from the federal government through several pots of money. So there is the transportation bill, safety loop provides about $45 million. There's about $40 million of high-speed rail dollars from the Federal Railroad Administration. And then there's about $35 million in the stimulus bill. And that's what dictated our construction schedule. You had to spend that within a certain number of months of receiving the money.
right away.
Yes, exactly.
They were shovel ready.
Yeah, exactly. We're shovel ready. We have $4 million of Federal Transit Administration. That's what's funding the light rail out front. The rest of it, you've got about $13.7 million of state bond funds. So for every state dollar, you're getting about 10 federal dollars into the project. And then the balance is Ramsey County's property tax levy for the rail authority.
Now we're going into an area that a lot of people haven't seen in many generations, really, right?
The last train served here in April of 1971, and that's really the last time the public was back in these spaces. This will be Amtrak's first-class seating lounge, behind that glass wall there. So if you're coming by automobile in the future to take Amtrak, you're going to probably be dropped off at what we think of as a kiss and ride on Kellogg. You can stop and hover for a couple of minutes, let someone off, pick them up. And then they'll go in through doors and up through storefronts into this space.
Oh, okay.
And this is...
Storefronts will be below us.
Yeah, they're down at Kellogg. So we're 2 levels above the street right now.
Okay. And this is going to replace the station up by on Transfer Road.
Exactly.
So they won't come in and out of there at all anymore.
They will still pick up and drop off private cars there, but all customer and passenger functions will come here.
We're going to move here. Wow, nice. And so 3 layers. This is the top floor.
There's 1 floor above us. There used to be a bowling alley during wartime above us, and that's going to become a new commercial retail space above us. But this space is really transit public space. So back here we have a room that is going to become a new commercial retail opportunity. WCCO Radio had a studio in this room in the early part of the 20th century. Then it was a cafe for many years.
Oh.
So there's a lot of this public space that could be used for, carts or kiosks and that sort of thing. So we're looking for kind of a retail marketplace concept throughout here.
And what do you anticipate is going to be the traffic coming through as it builds out? What's the potential?
The potential is tremendous. I mean, this building at one time had thousands and thousands of people daily. Now that was, of course, when transportation in the U.S. was all rail focused. The transit traffic in the near term will start relatively small and then will grow as the new services are added. So once you get additional commuter rail, high-speed rail to Chicago, there's a tremendous amount of expansion potential. In the near term, we believe that the bulk of that foot traffic is going to come from people coming to shop, attend arts and cultural events, and kind of treat this as their living room of St. Paul.
Okay, so you really want people to get the notion that there's retail to be had here.
Yes.
Let's take a look at this gorgeous ceiling before we go a little further. This is where the trains will be arriving and departing?
Yeah, they'll be right below us.
Oh, okay.
So this to the train deck level, okay. And that'll be where the buses, the trains, and all the services will be for customers.
Okay.
So this is what we call the waiting room, and it's magnificent. It's 300 feet long.
Gosh.
When Ramsey County...
Go all the way down?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
When Ramsey County gained possession of the property, this room was in terrible condition. The ceiling was falling down, all the plaster was falling apart. So we've basically rebuilt every bit of that ceiling. We've returned it to its original color scheme, and then cleaned and repaired all of this brick that goes all the way around.
And this is so beautiful with all the historic, what do you call
this? This is called a frieze.
Yeah, frieze. That's
it's
why I was looking
a
for
terracotta
that word.
frieze, and it's original to the building, and it tells the story from the ox cart to the stagecoach to the steam engine. And unfortunately, we don't know the artist who did that. It's lost to time, but we've promised not to chisel light rail cars into that. It's going to stay original. There's a great story about these skylights. So what you're looking at is curved glass that's diffusing the natural light coming in above it. The skylights overhead were actually blacked out during World War II for fear that this might be a bombing site with the number of servicemen coming through. Now we actually thought the curved lay lights were also blacked out. That turned out to be several inches of pigeon guano. So we've cleared all of that. Yeah, but that's really natural light for the first time since the 40s in here.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
So in here,
you can see the river at the end.
Yeah, the Amtrak platform is off the end. You got a nice view of the river. This room is going to be filled with seating that'll be like you'd see in a transit facility, but also flexible. We wanted to be able to move it in case there's an event, conference, or that sort of thing in here.
It's really going to be a potentially new event center for...
It is. Yep, I mean, everyone loves, for example, the farmers market here on the weekends. Maybe this becomes an opportunity in the middle of the week to host something like that in here and expand it to artist wares and crafts and things like that.
Who's going to program all that?
We've just hired a company named Jones Lang LaSalle. They're out of Chicago, and they operate Grand Central Terminal and the Union stations of DC and Chicago. So they know a thing or two about operating this type of facility, and they're going to do that programming.
Okay. So what's over here?
This is kind of a historic interpretive center that we're going to build. Connected to it is the last of the original 10 sets of staircases that went along this east wall down, that took passengers all the way down to the train deck. So it's kind of considered a historic relic, and we can see that when we go in here.
Okay. This is going to give us an even better view of the river, I think, than even at the end.
So if you look to the south out of here,
nice.
That's the Amtrak tower and platform. So you can see where that Empire Builder service will be. Now the existing freight is on the other side of this chain link fence. So the Amtrak trains will come off and on either side of the train deck up onto our platform area. So we have expansion space here. You can see, if you look at the side of the waiting room, those 5 door openings.
Okay.
That's where there used to be train towers coming down to serve the trains below. So those will become windows, but we have room to expand to add future commuter rail, like the Red Rock corridor would serve right between here and that tower.
What's the Red Rock corridor?
That's commuter rail that would go to the southeast to Hastings, right along the river.
Okay. And is that projected in budget somewhere?
It is. It's right now. It's going through station area planning phases, but it's several years away.
Yep.
And then between that and the Amtrak tower would be high-speed rail. So if we, when we get to the point of building true high-speed rail between here and Chicago, that would have its own platform.
Right there. Okay. And so what's happening when we imagine that the trains are running right underneath us, and when you and people are boarding through these stairs, they'll come up these stairs, or they're going to go up on these?
They'll come out the end of this waiting room and walk through that kind of skyway tower, and they'll come down either the elevator, escalator, or stairs, and they'll board the trains right along that very long platform that extends off.
Okay. But if additional were added, they'd be added along this way.
They would be right
they'd each be built out in the,
Exactly. So imagine back in the 20s, 10 platforms here. Just dozens and dozens of trains coming and going.
So when it's an infrastructure, this is what we call an infrastructure project. We're building that transportation from the ground up. And have you uncovered the historic rail, what was underneath the rail bed, and is it all rebuilt then? You're not using any of the past?
We're not using any of the original tracks. Those were gone.
Right.
This train deck had been used for parking by the post office and trucking functions.
Yeah.
So this has basically been rebuilt, or about 30% of it had to be demoed and rebuilt. So most of the train deck is really new functioning. The vast majority of this building, though, is being reused.
Is this a rehab?
It is. It's restoring it back. A lot of cities tore down their Union Station.
We're really lucky, aren't we?
We are, and being able to bring it back to its original use is something that's very unique here.
Absolutely.
So this is that original staircase, and they're in the process of restoring it. This would serve another light rail line. So if the Robert Street corridor or Rush Line or Gateway, if those were to become light rail, they would serve down here. Okay.
So more transportation. And then I see a big platform out here.
That's the bus platform.
That's where the buses are. Okay.
Yep.
So, and those are, you're saying Jefferson Line, which is obviously at least regional. They're not national.
They do. They're like a feeder service into both Amtrak and Greyhound.
And then, will this also include city buses, or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
There'll be, I think, 9 Metro Transit bus lines that'll all serve here.
Fantastic.
Suburban Minnesota Valley Transit will be here.
Okay. So, what else can we see then? We've seen the Grand Hall. Is that what you called it?
The Great Hall is the one where Christo's is. This is called the waiting room. This is kind of a neat little detail. When you're restoring a historic building, the historians don't want you to fool the public by building something that looks exactly like the old. So this is an example. This is the original brick, and the historians asked us to inset any new brick about ½ inch so that you could tell by looking at it. A historian would know that's not the original brick.
Oh, that's nice. So this is new here?
Virtually everything in here, the floors and the walls are the original surfaces. Most of the plaster over our heads was rebuilt. These wooden kiosks originally had track indicator numbers at the top of them.
Yeah.
So when a train would arrive, it would light up to indicate it's the next track being served. We'll have the logos of the service providers, so Metro Transit or Amtrak will be up there. And then there'll also be digital signs in them that'll give next trip arrival info, that sort of thing.
So it's the communications piece and a nice historic look back too. And what do you think this communicates in terms of I know there's so much emphasis right now on how we connect to the river again. What's going to be the message from the riverside, do you think?
Well, we've just heard that the ferry boats are coming back, so there's going to be a lot of attention, I think, on the river. I know some folks have asked if we could have a skyway that goes over Warner Shepherd Road, and we're not doing that, but we have done some things to really make that connection easier for people to make. So we've widened Sibley, the sidewalk, to about 25 feet to make it much more accommodating and safe for walking towards the river. So I think that river connection is being made in a number of ways. That's also a pretty heavy bike corridor.
Yes.
So we have a lot of approaches here to make this very bike friendly, including a new bike path that runs along the whole north side of this train deck. You can see that kind of mid-level brick wall on the edge of the train deck there.
Okay.
That's where the bike path is.
Oh yeah, I see. Yep, I see a little of the same brick color. There's so much brick there to look at, but that's kind of that darker tan.
Exactly.
Kind of blends into the building behind, but that's where you're saying
that'll be
that
where
low
the bike path, and it'll eventually connect into the Bruce Vento Trail and the East Side Network.
Well, isn't it fascinating how we're reweaving all these connections, things that have been there forever, and it really is. We were sitting around the same table a few days ago talking about this historic, that the imprint we're laying and that is being revealed and built here is really going to set the pace for the next 50 to 100 years of what St. Paul will be like. So as these get reconnected, a lot of other things will happen and be reconnected. So obviously we have an optimistic view of what this is the optimist at work, right?
Yeah, well, I think so, and I think it's also people who are looking at other big cities and saying, is this region going to kind of play at that level? Because most major cities have a more robust and developed transportation system.
Absolutely, we have been so far behind. I mean, we really are 30 to 40 years behind our development of the rail, considering the level of sophistication of our community, it seems to me.
I think that's
I don't know why it's been a disconnection for us. Do you have a sense of it?
This area, we used to have 600 miles of streetcar tracks. This city had a great transit system, and now, as we look at what those future needs are, they're really reflecting a lot of what we had in the past. So that's a new elevator.
Oh, yeah.
So this is another one of those challenges where we have to design things that are respectful of the original architecture but don't mimic it.
And that's because you're cooperating with because it's a historic building?
Yes, it's a historic building, and it's also a historic neighborhood.
Yes.
Now, when it was determined that the Central Corridor Light Rail would have their first stop on the line right in front of our building, it permanently changed the way that autos access the site.
Yes.
So before you could drive up here and drop someone off. Now, this really becomes just a pedestrian-oriented plaza. From a planning standpoint, that's actually nice. It gives us more opportunity to use this for events, and it somewhat creates a different issue, though, with automobile access and drop-off for ADA. So that's why we, in here, built this new elevator and staircase, which goes down to that carriageway. So this, while it looks like an old classic elevator, this is all new construction in here. One of our public art projects, we've just commissioned 4 artists to do commissions throughout the building. One of them will be in here. An artist is going to suspend a sculpture in here that will be made from glass and crystal and metal elements that will be visible when you're inside the head house, out from the light rail platform. It'll be very, very beautiful.
Is it a local or a national artist?
That's a national artist, Ray King. He's from Philadelphia.
Okay.
2 of the 4 artist firms we hired are local, though. And one of them is going to do a mural in the carriageway.
And who is that?
That's Amy Bauer and Brian Bolden.
Okay.
They're a local artist team, and they're going to do ceramic tile with photographing.
And who's the second?
It's a team led by Steve Dietz, who operates in Northern Lights, Minnesota.
Right.
Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
So he's got a team that actually involves some national and international artists. And they're going to be doing what we call a multimedia interactive platform. And it's
Nice.
going to be throughout the building, so it could involve digital elements.
Fabulous. That sounds like fun.
So this is the carriageway. This will be where that mural will be.
Okay.
Along this whole north wall. It's kind of a blank canvas of
It
about
certainly
170
is.
feet. So there won't be any parking in here in the future. So this will be just for drop-off.
This is the drop-off for handicap and
Exactly.
accessibility and so forth. Okay.
Exactly.
Nice. And then they can get right to the elevator. And where's the bike part that you were? Oh, it's back
On this
here.
level, straight over here.
Okay. And when you say the bike center, that's where people will be able to ride their bikes and leave them here for the next stage of their journey? Is that what you mean?
That's right. So this is the bike center. One-on-one Bike Studios out of Minneapolis are going to operate this for us. They're going to have secure bike storage that you'll be able to access 24/7. There'll also be retail, repair services in here. Behind us here are showers and lockers. So for commuters who don't want to be all sweaty before their board meeting, this will be something for them. We also, they're going to plan to have a cafe, kind of a coffee shop, art gallery type atmosphere going on.
So the big idea is about to open up. It's already got people living here.
Yep.
We've got restaurants already here, and we've got some beauty. So again, remind us, the next opening is, in a sense, the next thing to happen is what?
I think the next big step for us is to complete construction, and that'll happen later this fall. And then we're going to start up those transit services. Probably in December we'll have Metro Transit bus, and then after the first of the year, Jefferson lines, and sometime next year we'll have Amtrak, and then 2014 light rail. There are a lot of ands there, so you know, throughout all of that, bringing in additional retail, those sorts of things.
And how, in terms of the retail, if people are thinking, boy, I didn't know that I had an opportunity, who do they talk to if they have a vision for how they want to do some retail here?
Well, they could contact Ramsey County Regional Rail Authority, or they can also contact Jones Lang LaSalle. They're going to be our local vendor that's going to be doing all of the leasing.
And we'll pop up those on the website. That will give both those websites on air. And if they have questions, who do they contact?
If people have questions about the project, they can contact us at 651-266-2778. We'll be glad to answer any questions they have about the project.
Okay, and I can tell you're really excited. So thank you so much, Josh, for joining us. That's all we have time for this week. Come back again and watch the St. Paul Forum. Thank you.